And I just recently learned how to do a 2x2 I don't know if it's called an Italian bind off if it's 2x2, but anyway, it's supposed to be similar where it just like looks like the stitches just kind of roll off and end there. And I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I'm still thinking. Bethany, and this is the Knitting Thru podcast. Whew, this is going to be the big catch up, guys, because it's been, I don't think I've done a podcast episode since the beginning of July. I tried to do one on August 1st, and it did not go well. Someone in my neighborhood was doing a ton of like really loud yard work, and you couldn't hear it on the video very much, but my explanations of my projects, they were just incoherent. I could not focus. I couldn't like just keep, I tried to muscle through and the result was garbage. So even I was like, what am I talking about? That if I hadn't actually knit that thing, I don't think I would understand what I was saying. So then shortly after that, I had emergency surgery. I had an appendectomy. I got my appendix removed, which, thankfully they figured out what it was. There was a whole thing about that, and but we figured it out. They kind of rushed me to the OR and got me taken care of, but of course then I was recovering, and I had a couple of things that had some deadlines, so I was still knitting and everything, but the deadlines were real life deadlines that are important, which usually is not the case with my projects. Usually heads won't roll, or at least people won't be disappointed if I don't achieve my own arbitrary goals. But there were a couple that weren't so arbitrary. So when I tried to do my August podcast episode, I didn't have any finished objects, and that's fine. Like, that's going to happen. But now I have a bunch. I have a bunch. And most of them are little, but they're done. So I will start with those. Some of them I don't have with me because they were gifts, and I've already sent them off. I think I have a picture of all of them though, so I'll put those up on the screen as I'm talking about them. And then I have, guys, my friend Mandy uses this phrase called a scattergun approach, and that's just, I identify with that so much right now that I have kind of a scattergun approach to my projects. I want to cast on a bunch of cardigans because it's September 2nd. It's September 2nd today. It's in the afternoon here. I live in northern Indiana, and fall is one of the shortest months or shortest seasons. I was going to say months of the year, but that's not how that works. Fall is one of the shorter seasons for us. Winter is really long. We can get snow anywhere from like the end of October all the way into April. It yo-yos for a really long time. So this is the part of the year where it starts to cool off and be a little more consistently comfortable. The summers are really hot and the winters are really cold, and spring and especially autumn feel very short. So I try to make the most of it with autumn because it's my favorite season. Stereotypically my favorite season. Okay, so let's get into, but I don't have cardigans on the needles is what I'm trying to finish that thought. Sorry. If I don't finish a thought, I always wonder, like, should editing Bethany like show up and be like, this is what I was trying to say, or should I just let it go out into the ether and let you decide what I was trying to say? But because I have some projects to finish before I would feel like I can apply my brain to some more long-term projects. I think garments are more long-term. I made a video about all the fall cardigans and cowls and mittens that I would like to cast on. It's impossible for me to get them all done. So you should definitely watch it and then come tell me what you're going to be casting on because, it's just a great idea. Okay, first, what I finished in August were some baby knits. My youngest sister is having a baby. It's due in the end of October. I say we know it's a boy now. He's due in the end of October. And they are affectionately nicknaming him Baby Button. So Baby Button had a baby shower. It was Hobbit themed. I'll also show you some pictures of just the event, but also some of the things that we made. My family is full of creative makers. They are just, we're just a really good team. We have a lot of different skills and talents, and so it's really fun to come together and bring what we have and see what fits where. And my husband is a carpenter, and so he made these really cool Hobbit door trays, and I think he also, he made the door for this wreath that has this big old Hobbit door on it. It's really sweet, and they actually decided to put it on their front door, which was really nice. They liked it that much. And then my sisters did like the wreath part of it and a bunch of different stuff. My another sister took care of almost all the food, and then another sister made potatoes 3 ways because that's like a Hobbit thing, and well, maybe more of a Lord of the Rings thing, but anyway, it's in that I was gonna say genre, that's not right, even more than that, it's in that universe, right, of fantasy. And then someone found all these like travel posters to put around the room of all the different places in Middle Earth, and it was just a very nerdy fun time. It was really great, and I was really excited to like dress up and like go, and I knit like a little baby clothesline of things that could go underneath the wreath. And so there were some mittens and a hat that my son has outgrown, and Emily is just going to be the person that I give these little knits to that aren't going to fit him anymore, because she is really knowledgeable around different fibers and how to treat them, and so I don't think she would be overwhelmed by doing that for her baby. So that's what's happening with that. I made a vest and some socks for Baby Button. The vest was so cute, and I thought, that's the thing about baby knits, is you're like, they're gonna take no time at all, but you actually do have to do them for them to be finished. So I did, I think, the back for the vest, and then I put it to the side and was like, yeah, I'll do the rest of that later. It'll take barely any time at all, but it takes a second, it takes a minute. I used the pattern The Fluffiest Set for it. I didn't do the I-cord edging for all of that. Instead, I did a 2x2 rib on the bottom and just a little bit, I think I did maybe 6 or 7 rounds on the armholes for it. And then I did a shawl collar on the button band. So I followed the buttonhole directions from the 11Z's cardigan, which is an adorable cardigan and would have been totally on brand. But I don't think the sizes go down that far. And if they do, even if they do, it's an Aran weight pattern, and I was dealing with DK yarn, and I just wanted to deal with something that I didn't have to rewrite the stitch counts for. So that's why I went with the fluffiest set, because it's a DK weight pattern. And then for the shawl collar, I just did short rows around the edge. One of the things that I think I'll do next time is to do the short rows immediately on it rather than near the end. So I did a bunch of 2x2 ribbing back and forth, and then I did short rows, and then I finished those, finished off the rows and bound it off. But I think it wasn't quite the shape I was going for. I think the next time I do that, I'm going to try to incorporate the short rows first and then do the rest of the rows. I'm not as knowledgeable of like what shapes those make. I can do it. I just don't know what it's going to look like. So I know that if you do short rows so that you're like making them bigger, right? Then it's like a little rainbow, right? But then if you're doing it so that you have them smaller, that's the thing. You're building fabric either way, but the way in which it rolls or curves, or like, because that's generally what you're doing, right? With short rows is you're trying to make some type of slope in the fabric. And so I am still not, my brain doesn't work in 3D very easily without a lot of experience. So I'm still sorting that out. But for a baby, it's going to be great. I doubt he will be upset about it. And for her, I gifted her the Caroline shawl that I finished earlier this year and the coffee cardigan that I most recently finished. I did not mention that they were for her when I was making them. The Caroline shawl, actually, when I first finished it, was not intended to be for her, but the more I thought about it and the more I there was a very motherhood intention when I was knitting it, and so I thought it would be just perfect. There's also this book called The First 40 Days, and for those of you who have birthed babies, you know that those first initial days are really rewarding and really hard. So one of the things in this book that's really cool is they review different traditions in how we care for new mothers in all these different cultures around the world. And it was really fascinating to me how much overlap there was from all these places around the world. So anyway, I thought the knits would be really great. Once again, the end of that thought was that in the book, one of the unifying themes over lots of different cultures is to protect the mother from getting cold. And so you're like trying to make sure she's warm. So in some cases, it's that they don't allow her to have any cold drinks at all. She's just always having a warm or hot drink. And then another one was that they are constantly protecting her spine from drafts and chill. So I thought that the coffee cardigan and the Caroline shawl would be perfect for that, to protect her spine while she's caring for her baby. The second finished object that I finished in August were the baby socks. So those were also on the clothesline. What was great about those is they were so little. They were really fast to finish. And I used the Hobbit themed yarn from Mustache Yarn, the leftovers I had from making those socks. The first set went to my brother, and then the baby socks are going to Baby Button. I have like the littlest bit left. Let me show you. I did those socks toe up, so technically I could have done, I think there's 2 stripes left in both of these. Technically I could have done 2 more stripes and finished it off, but I felt like they were long enough. I felt like it was proportional at that point, so I'm just gonna put those in some scrappy socks at some point. My third finished object is the utility shawl. It is so beautiful. Look at that. Oh, look at that. It's so pretty. It's so pretty. Okay, so I knit my test knit in Rowan Felted Tweed. I always want to say Ronan because that's my youngest son's name, but it's Rowan Felted Tweed. And I have just this itty bit left from the 200 grams because I knit the large size. Now, I absolutely love this. I did not, however, buy enough Surrey alpaca, and so I got to the end of one ball and was like, oh no, where are the other ones? Because I only saw one, and according to yardage I obviously should have bought more than 2. So what I did is I just did these halves. So that's what these lines are that you're seeing, is that's where the Surrey alpaca got added back in. So I realized that, you know, I should have done it differently, but I actually really like having the middle section, and I think it helps with the ends here. I say that my shawl has frosted tips because those of you who remember the early aughts and the frosted tips on everyone's hair, that's the joke. Anyhow, this is cashmere from Magpie Fibers that's in there, and then this one is Cumulus Surrey alpaca, and then this is just the Rowan Felted Tweed by itself. So I held the Rowan Felted Tweed through the whole thing, and then added different lace sweets at different points. Now, I wanted it to be symmetrical, but of course, every ball of yarn is not the yardage. Even though it's sold by the weight, even the weight is not exactly the same, right? Like it's some skeins are 102 grams instead of 100. Some are 120 instead of 100. So it really, I love generous skeins, but it also, that's why measuring is a good word, but weighing your yarn before and after you're done with different sections is a really good idea. So I didn't do that with these because obviously I made the mistake of thinking I had more Surrey than I did. It was probably because my handsome husband was in the yarn store with me when I was buying the yarn, and I was just very distracted. It was our anniversary trip, and he is very handsome, so you know, I'll just blame it on that. But it was very good to, I ran out of yarn for the Surrey alpaca about here. So I just added the cashmere. And then what I did is I think I must have run out on this side because that I think is the end of it. Because you knit it from side to side in the round. So this one was the original tip on this one. I just cut it off because I wanted it to be symmetrical, and I wanted it to, the increases and everything to be correct. So I cut it off, redid that corner, and then Kitchenered it together so that it would be the way it should be had I knit it that way. So I could have just cut it off and then like done decreases and stuff on that side, but I really wanted the increases and everything to be the way that it would have been because it was a test knit. So it's important that those things work out correctly all the ways. So this is just such a beautiful, functional piece. There's a smaller size in the pattern as well. There's also just a recipe that he's included. I don't even think I said this is by Jonathan of Jonathan Days. So the way that he wears it is like this with like this shawl cuff on it, which I think is great. Also, I often will take things like this and put them around my neck and then just tuck them in the front of my coat. Or my jacket, and they just kind of stay because it's buttoned like that, and it's really cozy because the back of your neck is just like it can go all the way up in the back, but it's also not like choking you, right? I could like wrap it around also. It's just not long enough that I think it would stay super well in that way. So I do the bandana wear for mine quite a bit. So to do that, I just kind of tuck it underneath so that it will stay, so that it can zhuzh around and it's not that big of a deal. It'll stay under there. So, this is definitely something that I'm going to be utilizing. Also, my girls, steal my shawls all the time. They steal them all the time. I think I will actually just have a basket of shawls in my car because so many times my kids will say like, Mom, I'm cold, when we're in the car, even in the summertime, because my husband is blasting the air conditioning because he's really hot. And so either he has to, just kind of tough it out and turn it off and they can warm up, but they're still cold for, a while before it warms up in the car. And often I will throw a cardigan at someone to use as a blanket, and they really love that. They really love when I throw my knits at them to warm up because it kind of is instantaneous relief when it comes to that. I forgot how cold I used to be all the time until this past January. Wool has been the solve for me around so many things. I deal with some chronic pain, and if the cold gets into my bones, I know I sound like a really old person when I talk about it, but it's just true. When the cold gets into my bones specifically, like I can feel it in my back and my neck and my legs, and it almost feels debilitating. And the only way I can get some relief usually is to take a really, really hot shower, or to have some type of heated blanket. I'm still toying with some hot water bottles that I want to. I know that's is it a more European thing? The hot water bottle thing, but I've heard from one of my sisters that it's really, two actually, that it's really, really great. And so I've been thinking about putting one of those by my feet in bed. That sounds really cozy during the winter. But anyway, I'm digressing again. So the test knit was lovely. It was full of just really sweet people. One of the knitters in the test knit shared this technique for an SSK that I really, really loved. So I used that in the decreases in my latest tread heavy video. I finally finished that tutorial series. It only took me a year, but I did it. And funny enough, I finished the sock in that video and I cannot find it. It's supposed to be a sock for a present, and I need to knit the other one, I'll knit the other one, but I have no idea where that sock is right now. I brought it with me as an example of, a knitting technique, stranded colorwork, and socks to show my students who I'm going to be teaching a knitting class on Monday nights to children, which is going to be really fun. And I brought that with me, and I brought it home, and I have no idea where it went. This is the first time I've actually lost a knitting project before it was finished. So the last thing I finished were some cute scrunchies. They were for my sister for her birthday. She is very much into the yellow that I knit one of them in. I also knit one in green, and I also knit one in pink. It's this really dusty rose pink. And they are so great. I think it is something I was thinking about making some for my nieces for their stocking stuffers this year. I think that'd be really fun. And what was great about those knits is that the yarn I used was 50% baby yak and 50% silk. Sorry, my camera ran out on me for a second, and I thought I took care of that, but that's okay. It's taken care of now. Here we go. So the 3 yarns that I used, they're all right here. These are the colors, and it's by My Yak Tibetan Fibers. This yarn was such a joy to knit with, and these are the colorway names. Sorry, I'm trying to hold it so you can see them all. The yellow is definitely her jam. She wears that color all the time, especially in her hair. But I thought, you know, oh no, there's a gnat in here. I thought especially because I feel like the other 2 colors go really well with that yellow. If she was wearing like a yellow top or something, she could, you know, accessorize with the other colors. I am so happy to have used this. This was my souvenir yarn when we went on our California trip in the beginning of the year. And I just, because they were these, I think they were 25, yeah, they're 25 grams. I just like, that was hard for me. It fit into my budget when I got them, but it was hard for me to fit into like a project plan when I got back. So that was really great. So if you have a 25 gram mini, you'll probably be able to make this. I did just like it says, 80, the pattern's free, so I'm gonna just talk really freely about it. It says to cast on 80 stitches and then do so many centimeters, which for me was 32 rounds. So for the yellow one, I did exactly that. I had exactly enough to do that. And then for the green one, and this is what I mean by not all skeins are the same, right? They're all 25 grams, but there's a little bit more or a little bit less. The green one had a little bit less. So I actually did the bind off with 1 strand of it, even though I held 2 strands together through the whole scrunchie. I did the 3 needle bind off with 1 strand so that I could make it all the way around. And then just wove all those ends in. And then with the pink one, I actually did 33 rounds at the end, but I still had this left after the bind off. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this little guy. I am contemplating, the last color that I have of that souvenir yarn is this gray. And it is a 50% baby yak, 50% cotton blend. For some reason, that one's different, but that's, I didn't know that when I bought it. I didn't pay attention because the other 3 were that blend and I just assumed. But I thought maybe, what if I did the gray one and then did the 3 needle bind off in pink just around it and gifted it to someone? That might be really cute. And then that will be the end of the California yarn. I will have used it all. And that is just so satisfying to me to use all of it. So great. Okay, now on to works in progress. I'm not gonna lie, this is where the scattergun approach is pretty apparent. I cast on so many pairs of socks because now summer sock camp is over, but that happened at the end of August. And there are just a lot of gift knits that happen in August for me. My daughter has a birthday in August. My sister and her family's birthdays are all in August. And so I generally end up at the end of summer sock camp trying to finish gifts, where at the beginning of summer sock camp I'm always like, all these socks are going to be for me. I'm going to do so many socks during summer sock camp. They're all going to be for me and it's going to be so great. And that just doesn't happen. So I thought what would be great though is I really do love summer sock camp because it does, I do get things done from it because I cast on a bunch of socks at that point. So I will show you those, I think, at the end, because there are quite a few and some of them are just cuffs. And so that's okay. I will just show it to you and tell you what the yarn is, because I have a plan for the pattern that it's going to be. But with me, until I've actually done it, that might not actually be what it's going to be. So that's okay. First up, I put this muscle burl on the needles. I finished the increases and everything, and I'm absolutely in love with the color. I think it's going to look so good with my hair. It's going to look so nice. We are approaching the fall where that's kind of what I do, is I wear a muscle burra all the time. It's one of my favorite things to do when I'm just not ready to approach the hair situation. So this is it. I think I've done the correct thing with it. My stitch count for the last muscle burl I did was more stitches per inch than what the pattern gives instructions for. So of course, more stitches per inch means that your knit is going to be smaller, okay? And then if you have less stitches per inch, that means it's going to be bigger, which seems a little counterintuitive when you're thinking about things, but that's how it works. And so I knit a beautiful hat that it ended up being too small for me. So I upped my needle size this time. It's still not quite at the smallest size, the smallest gauge, but it's almost there. And I'm doing an adult large, so I'm hoping that that will compensate for that. So I am using this beautiful purple speckled yarn. I love it so much. It came in the sock advent where it was 100 grams and a 20 gram mini, and each sock set was themed for the advent candles, the colors of the advent candles. And what's so funny is I didn't even realize, because we use the word advent for calendars of yarn all the time, like we even say Halloween advent, you know what I mean? But there isn't actually a Halloween advent. It's just the thing that is the term we use for yarn calendars. And so I didn't realize like it was truly an advent themed yarn, what do I want to say? Because every Sunday for Advent, before Christmas, a lot of Christian denominations light a different colored candle to remind us of a different story that aligns with like kind of what would have been happening in Jesus's life, even though Jesus wasn't born in December. Like, it's just kind of supposed to help you along the story, right? So yeah, so I didn't even get it until like the very end. And this yarn was made by Mandy of Mass Witch Yarns. I just absolutely love the way she speckles yarn. In the sock that I lost, which I will eventually find, I will deep clean my house and figure out where the heck it is. But the speckles were so delicate and so perfect. Oh, they were so good. And I have another pair of socks that I cast on for myself that I'm using her yarn for, that the speckles are also just friggin' perfect. So it's I'm really enjoying this knit. I have this and another pair of socks that are just my vanilla knits. At this point in my life, I am often the passenger in the car, handing out snacks, helping people, get their crayon that fell on the floor, all of that stuff while my husband is driving, if we're like all traveling as a family. But also that means that sometimes we are traveling in the dark and I want to be able to knit on something that is just a stockinette thing. Now, oh, I kicked you. I'm sorry. I am really curious as to how long this one will last me, because every once in a while I will knit on a stockinette project and I'll have it with me and at the ready, and then eventually I'll get sick of it not being done and I'll just finish it. And then once again, I won't have a stockinette thing on my needles. So, this is really great, and it came in handy a couple of times in the past couple of months to give me something to work on when my brain was dead or I was on pain medication, or when I was in the dark in the car. So I'm gonna keep this one going. I would say only like 6 or 7 rounds past the increases here. So I've got quite a bit more to do before I get to where I want to do the ribbing in the middle for the head, it's not the crown. The crown is the top. For the brim. I like doing ribbing in the middle. I got that inspiration from Knitty Natty. She did a few of those like that, so I just follow her Ravelry notes for the inches on those. Okay, I did cast on a cardigan, but I have to do it again. So I'm gonna show it to you just to show you, what I'm dealing with. I am casting on this Nutidin color. It's just this gray, beautiful gray. Similar, not quite, maybe back here. Anyway, I really like the yarn. However, I am going up a needle size. This was supposed to be a Nature's cardigan because I've had it on my to-do list forever, and we're coming back around to prepping for colder months, and yeah, and I still haven't done it. So it's super wide, and I'm okay with some positive ease. That's totally fine. But this one I think is going to be just too big. And so I need to cast it on again. I did a really great tubular cast on because I really wanted to do it that way. Who knows? She suggests a tubular cast on if you want your bind offs for your sleeves to match it, but she also says you can just do a long tail. Who knows, maybe I'll just do the long tail next time I cast it on. One of the things that's hard for me to do is I have a bunch of Nutidin yarn. Like, I really love it. And because it's so fragile in its unknit, pre-knit state, I don't know what to do with it sometimes when I make a mistake. So if I need to tink back, like, that's fine. But if I need to, like, just start over like I do with this one, then it feels like, how much of this can I pull out without it just breaking all over the place? And because I don't want to just tink back, all of these stitches when I could just unravel it. But also, can I unravel it without it getting all weird? And so I'm having to, tell myself, like, don't continue with a cardigan that is, is the wrong size just because it's cast on and you feel like you'd be wasting 3 rows of yarn, even though the yarn does feel kind of precious. So I'm going to be doing it on a 5mm needle, which is bigger than the suggested needle in the pattern. So I think even though I would be choosing a size large according to the chest circumference that it would come out as and the kind of positive ease that I would want for that, because I'm upping my needle size, I think I'm going to knit a size medium in the stitch counts. So we will try that again. Another thing I have on the needles, and I've had this on here for a little bit, is a souffle top, souffle blouse, souffle. This is a pattern by Laura Penrose, and it's absolutely gorgeous to me. And there's even directions for a long sleeve version, which is what I would like to do. I have always had, I am quite comforted by wearing my knits in new or unfamiliar social situations. And so whenever I'm going out to a fancy dinner, though, I always feel like I'm not quite, like it would be too casual for a lot of the knits that I have to wear them to, so like a fancy dinner or like going out to tea with the girls or whatever, which actually happens in my life every once in a while, but not often enough for me to, until now, think maybe I should knit a thing that would make me feel nice in those situations. So I've joined it in the round, and because there's this little cute, I'm gonna be putting, I think it's an I-cord finish here, and then this little part comes together with a tiny button, I believe, and that goes in the back. So very cute, very demure, very mindful. I cannot get that out of my head. Like, it's the funniest thing to me. This is before, so at some point, right, so this is going to be up here, and then at some point, like here, we start holding it 2 strands together. So I don't know how long I will be able to make the sleeves, but I think I will put the length on the body to where I want it to be first, and then just knit the sleeves, do some of this sleeve, do some of that sleeve, and that way they'll be even, but also I'll use as much of this as I can. This is Magpie Fibers cashmere base again. In what colorway is this? In the Selkie colorway. So it is, oh shoot, oh, there it is, it's on the front. 75% cashmere and 35% silks, the plume base from Magpie Fibers, and I invested in some cashmere from them last year, but I've been treating it pretty preciously, and so I had it set out to hold with something for a garment, and then I realized I didn't need to hold it with that, and so now it's just on its own. And I'm hoping I can stick with this because I have cast on a couple of summer knits in the summer, and then after the summer has come and gone, I'm at about this point with them where I have to, keep going through a couple increases or something, and I'm just kind of not feeling it anymore, and I pull them out and I use the yarn for something else. So I know that when I come back to the knits again, that I will be really happy if I have that finished for the summertime the next time this comes back around. Okay, and I'm going to show you 2 more things before we start the sock parade. They're actually crochet projects, and sometimes I do things in like crafting categories when I'm showing the whips, but I think right now I'm showing them in like, I don't know, types of clothing, or I don't know, something categories. So my daughter's birthday was August 22nd. She turned 8 and she really likes pink. So I've had this yarn for a while. It is a mohair wool blend. I got this from a friend. The colorway is called In the Pink, and it is 55% mohair and 45% wool from Fearless Fibers. So I had 200 grams of this yarn, and I've been a little bit hesitant to use it because mohair isn't something that I have ever found a brand of it that like isn't super prickly to me. But I think in an outerwear thing, it would be just fine. So as we are approaching the fall, and I wanted to make something kind of fun for my daughter for her birthday. So this is going to end up being a cardigan. This is the back piece it's going to be like across the back this way. So it's going to be this drop shoulder cardigan where this is the back, and then, sorry, I'm showing you the back, the like wrong side of it, but it'll be on the back here. And then I'm going to pick up these top stitches. I'm going to do I think I'm actually going to do some ribbing on the top so that it'll fit her shoulders really well. And then I'm making the fronts so that they'll connect right there. So I think what is going to happen is I'm going to do the ribbing for the top. I'm going to do that in a different pink yarn. I think I'm going to try and do as much of the crochet in this as I can. And then do the button band in a different pink yarn as well. That way it won't be scratchy on her neck, but that she'll get all the warmth like around her core for the mohair. So I have this big granny square in the middle, and then I think you can see that it's not a square really. So once I got it as long as I wanted it to be, I took the sides and just crocheted back and forth with those, which was a new thing for me. I've never done that before with granny clusters, to do it flat. So that was a new experience, because at first I was, not understanding how to do it straight, and it was like coming out like that because I was adding too many clusters on each side. So I blocked this piece, and it smells really good. I blocked this piece, and I think it's really interesting. Like, all of this is like, just very mixed up and everything. But then when you get to this side, the colors kind of matched up the whole time, made these stripes, which was accidental. And I wondered if it would happen on this side when I did it as well, but it didn't. It didn't match up the same way. So that's just interesting to me. And then, so with this one, I think I'm going to just weigh this all together and take this part off and see what is half of it, and then do it again. So I have my little orange creamsicle stitch marker from Hello Lavender. I got those in just the other day. There's also these little like ice cream cones with some sparkly things in them that came with it too. Those are really nice, aren't they? So I'm gonna keep, this is just kind of a self-drafted, keep going, see how this turns out type of thing. I think I can definitely make something wearable for her. I don't know if I will ever do this again. I started it this way because I was trying to make one of those granny square cardigans where you make the big piece, right? And then you just kind of seam underneath the arms. And I thought what I had seen was it was 2 granny squares that you do that with. You like take the 2 granny squares, you seam them together on one side, then you like make the arms, right? But that's, I think what you're actually supposed to do is make a either a hexagon or a pentagon. There's instructions for both. And so I already had this really big granny square, and I thought, you know what, I don't want to go back. So I'm incorporating both knitting and crochet into this cardigan. I think that's actually going to be really great. But the point of me starting it was so that it would be a little bit faster, and now it's not. So that's okay. That's all right. We'll deal with it, and it'll be great. And hopefully I'll have it done this month, because we're going to be going camping in October, and I really wanted to have cardigans done for all my kids for our camping trip, but I think I will be able to finish 2. I will probably be working on the 3rd by the time it comes up. I have my oldest son's cast on already. I'm almost through the increases for the raglan for his. I need to do 15 more rounds for that. But I'm just not enjoying it. It is just this regular old stockinette raglan sweater, and that's fine. That should be fine. But it's taking, I've just kind of put it on the back burner because there have been more interesting and more pressing things for me to finish for August. The last thing before the sock parade. Oh my goodness, this is getting so big. Okay, this is, the summer fade hexie blanket, and I'd really like to get it done as the summer closes out. So there are a bunch of these white hexies, and then we fade into these colors, and I finished 2 colors, and then I finished 2 more colors, and then I finished 4 colors. Did I finish 5 colors? So I finished 4 colors in August, and then I just in September finished 1 color. So the red and the orange and the red are finished. The purple and the 2 blues are finished. And then I just finished the teal here last night. I have 2 greens on there. Each color has 10 hexies with it. I finished the 2 greens. I have 1 more white hexie to do. They're kind of interspersed in this blanket, and I have 1 more to do, and I can't tell you how excited I am to be done with the white hexies. But I have 8 more green ones to do and 1 more white one to do, and then I will be done with all the full hexies. Oh my goodness, I'm so happy about it. I don't think it's going to take me very long, but that's the thing. I have lots of things that if I focused on them wouldn't take me very long. But yeah, this is, I put on the bottom these kind of half hexies. This isn't part of the pattern. I just thought it would be nice to have a more even end to it. So I put these half hexies on the bottom. This one turned out really well. I think I crocheted this one a little tight, so I don't know. That sucker might block out, but we'll see. And so now what I'd like to do, because I have more of this teal left than I had of either of the blues when I finished them. So I think I might be able to get 2 half hexies out of this. That would be really nice. That would be really cool. If not, I'm going to put a couple of white hexies on the bottom to where, it would be like here, because there's green ones here, so it'll be like not right next to a white one. Hopefully it'll look good and in pattern. And then up here I need to do all the half hexies for the white edge here, and then I will just need to do finishing around all the around all the edges to finish it off. So the pattern has you do that in this white, and I think that would be great. And also I'm not sure if I'm going to crochet the edge or if I'm gonna kind of encase it in an applied I-cord border. So I realize that crocheting the edge might not take as much time, but I think it would be cool to have the applied I-cord border to like kind of put it around both sides, I don't know. I'm waffling about it. I don't know what I'm actually gonna do. I feel like I'm gonna I would really like the I-cord border, but I don't know if I can apply the time and patience to do that. So I've just got a little bit left. I'm doing the sweater for my daughter on a 3.25 millimeter hook. And I think that yarn is 22 stitches per 4 inches. I don't understand when they put that is 22 stitches per 4 inches on a US 5 needle. Like, that doesn't tell me. Does that mean it's a DK? Does that mean it's a fingering weight yarn? I feel like wraps per inch is the standard for that. And then there are some, anyway, don't get me started on it, because I feel that way about a lot of patterns that people are publishing as well, where they're like, it's a worsted weight gauge. And I'm like, there is no worsted weight gauge. That's not a thing. There's worsted weight yarn. There's fingering weight yarn. But you can make the gauge whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like, you can... The gauge is actually a measurement. It's not a feeling. Or like... Anyway. So, I'm struggling with that a little bit as I am going through life and different patterns, but that's okay. I'm digressing again. Anyway, let's move on to the sock parade. All right, first up are some DK socks. I knit some DK socks at the beginning of summer sock camp to just kind of try them out. I haven't knit DK socks before, and so I thought, well, I would like to try them. And with our camping trip coming up, I thought, what if I had the plan of like putting fingering weight socks on and then putting DK weight socks on top of those, and then that would really help with how cold I got last year. So I have these. These are the biscuit sock recipe. It's a free pattern. It's just a 3x1 row every once in a while. And so it's kind of like a zoomed, what do I want to say? That's kind of like a stretched out version of the Hermione's everyday sock pattern, if you've knit that before. So I realized that this looks like, you know, I matched these stripes pretty well here, and I did that on purpose because these are scraps from the socks that I made before, and I was trying to make them match as much as I could. So in this one, you can see that the yarn had been cut in a few different ways, and I was just trying to get the stripes to come out well. It's the same on the inside of this one. And so I made sure I got all the stripes in the right sequence so that they would be the same. However, now I'm out of even stripes. And this is what happens with me in my knitting a lot. I knit very happily on a project for a while, and then I get to some point where I encounter a problem that I need to make a decision about, and then I just am like, you can wait over here while I make that decision, and I'll knit on this other thing that doesn't need a decision until that one needs a decision. And sometimes that means that there are 5 or 6 things that I need to make a decision about, but I'm not sure. I either need to do the math, or I'm not sure actually out of the options that I know which one I would be most satisfied with. And that's okay. Things can wait. But I realized recently that that's usually where I'm stalled, is when I just need to decide what I want to do. So I was thinking with these that I might do an afterthought heel, because right now what I have, I'm joining this gray yarn with it. This is a DK. Oh, this is 100% superwash wool, and it's, the colorway is Oregon Coast, and it's from Michaela the Maker Fibers. She doesn't dye yarn anymore. And in fact, I got this when she was getting rid of a lot of things. So I really like this one. I like the gray and beige that's in there. And I have a little bit left of the mini that came with the self-striping yarn, which is a Tiny Human Knits colorway. It's this one. And that's a 75-25 superwash wool and nylon blend. So I have two more stripes. I have this red stripe, this bright red stripe, and this dark like wine stripe left for one of the skeins. But the other skein is just, that's the end of it. That's that little orange stripe is the end. So I'm contemplating, like, should I just be okay with them looking a little more scrappy at this point? Should I still try to make it, you know, symmetrical somehow? Also, I don't have any more DK superwash yarn, and so I'm contemplating that too. Like, what should I do about that? Like, should I get another DK sock yarn skein, and then I could make another pair of DK socks and finish these? You know, I'd have enough to do that because I had enough to make another pair of DK weight socks, and this is like the leftovers. And with the other pair, I did them on a US 3, a 3.25 millimeter needle. And I didn't like the fabric with that as much. So I sized down to a 2.75 millimeter needle, a US 2. And I like the fabric with this a lot better. So I think I'm going to stick with that needle size. I am, however, still unsure if the stitch count is right for my foot. So I will keep you posted about that. Since I'm sizing down my needle, it might have been good for me to go up a stitch count, but I thought it'd be good for me to just size down a needle and stick with the stitch count so that I could just do one variable at a time, first of all. And second of all, the socks that I knit before, I'm actually giving to one of my sisters because she has feet that are wider than me, and they came out a little bit too, there's no negative ease in them. So I thought sizing down and keeping the same stitch count would be a good idea. Okay, the next pair of socks that I'm knitting are for my brother-in-law. I got one of them done. This is, I'm calling them the llama socks because he sent me a picture of the kind of color scheme he wanted. And so I'm using these for that. I'm just using the leftovers from my blanket to make these, plus this white yarn that is just a Cascade Heritage yarn in this white color. I'm on the heel flap for this one. I just had him try on the socks that I made previously for him, these, and they were a little he said they were a little short on the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut into the top of all four of these. I'm going to take the cuffs off on some needles, knit some more fabric up on them, and then Kitchener them back together. Because I think, especially with this, I have some leftovers of this yarn, but I would rather just knit my way up with that. But also, how do I do that? Because this is a broken rib texture. How do I? Well, maybe I need to knit up from the cuff then with that, and then Kitchener it to the sock part. That's what I'll do with this one probably, and this one, with both. Yeah, the direction actually does matter for these stitch patterns. So with a stockinette one, I probably wouldn't matter as much. So he did say he liked a shorter sock, so I just did a pair of shorties for him. But when he tried them on, he was like, yeah, I think it would be nice if it would, you know, be a little bit longer. And when I saw it on his foot, I realized I should have done the heel flap a little bit longer. I do that with my own, but I didn't do it with his. This is a 72 stitch count on fingering weight. on a US 1 needle. I do all my socks for myself as a 64 stitch circumference on a US 1 needle, a 2.25 needle. I also am very into a 2x2 cuff where I do the long tail cast on for the knit stitches and a German twisted cast on for the purl stitches. I just am really into that. I think that's what is going on with all of these, except for one pair, which I will identify for you. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of sock surgery here to make these better, because since the heel flap is not quite as long as I think it should be, I think lengthening the leg would help with that as well. So I'm going to do that with these. I'm going to do that with these and then send them off to him. It was also fun because he had a sweater that he bought while he was in the Netherlands, and he got it at a discount because one of the armpits was coming undone, and so I was able to repair that for him. I also repaired a bought sweater for my mother this month, and so it's just like, you know, feeling very slow fashion, feeling very in line with intentions, very, very good about all of that. Okay, I have all these socks in baskets. Basket mode for me, so I have project bag mode, and that's great. That's organized. It's usually when I have a little more bandwidth. Basket mode means I'm afraid to let anything out of my sight because I will not remember it. And that's not that big of a deal, really. But I feel like I lose track of projects that way. So one of the sock projects that I have on the needles is the Color Opportunity socks by Stephen West. I have these going on. Oh my gosh, look at those. They're crazy. One of the things he has in the pattern is a brioche heel flap. And I'm very interested in doing that. I don't think I'm interested in doing the rest of the foot that's, in the pattern. I think I'm going to just do the heel flap, the brioche heel flap, and then do the rest of the foot. I think that's what I'm going to finish it off with. I have some really great yarn that I'm using for this. It's 4 different colors. This is the Wonderland Walk colorway for, you see it? For the green. It is by Lay Family Yarns, and it was dyed by, oh, come on. I love her podcast. Her podcast name is Little Drops of Wonderful, and then she has another channel called, I think, This Little Wonderful Life, something like that. And I just adore her. She's very real. She's taking ballet, and like her family's laughing at her for taking ballet. I think it's so great. I think it's wonderful. Anyway, but she's still doing it. And I love that. And I really love the greens that she put in here. And there's like these brown speckles in it. Oh, so good. So I immediately bought a skein of sock yarn. I'm probably going to be obsessed with using all of this soon, because when I have a special skein of yarn, I like to use as much of it as humanly possible, and I don't really like for it to sit around for a long time. So there's that. Then this gold is by Dream in Color yarn, and their smooshy cashmere base, and the colorway is Naked Shame, and that's a 70% superwash merino, 20% cashmere, 10% nylon. I did not recognize that was a 20% cashmere blend. That's lovely. Then I have this is a Sweet Georgia color in their Tough Love sock base, and it is called Brick Lane, which, and that's an 80-20 superwash nylon blend. Then this brown I have going in a couple of different projects, but I have it in this one. and it is from Guinea and Hen Fibers, I think it is. I got it at the Hoosier Hills Fiber Festival, and I'm also using it in the socks that I'm making for my sister that I lost the first one of. So, you know, if y'all want to pray that I find that one, that would be great. This is the one that I did not use the cast on with, because you actually knit like this direction with the leg, and then you pick these up and bind off up here. So I did actually a 1x1 Italian bind off, even though it's a 2x2 rib, because I don't think it's super noticeable, and I really like the stretch of a tubular bind off. And I just recently learned how to do a 2x2 I don't know if it's called an Italian bind off if it's 2x2, but anyway, it's supposed to be similar, where it just like looks like the stitches just kind of roll off and end there. And I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know how I feel about it yet. I'm still thinking. Okay, so I have a few cuffs now that I have plans for that I'm going to show you. I might not show them to you next time because they might not get any work on them, you know, till whenever I pick them up again, but we'll see. I have 2 more pairs of socks other than the ones that I'm showing you today that I had plans to cast on. So I'm planning on finishing the birthday socks and then casting those 2 on immediately, because I think at that point my brain will be clear of like the list of socks that I have wanted to cast on for a while. So that'll be great. I can just like kind of start a new list for that. So this advent calendar, I just have this teeny cuff cast on for this. I have several ends coming off it because I had a little bit that I used for something that I pulled out and put back with the same color. And so it's all going to be in the same project now, which is great. Oh, got him. So one of the socks that I've been wanting to cast on for a while are the quilty socks by Kay Jones of the Bakery Bears. I absolutely love that texture. I think it's really pretty, and I think with this, I'm probably not going to use all of these in the socks, but I think with this it would be really fun to do. I really want to incorporate a lot of the colors, and I at first was thinking of doing them as like kind of a almost rainbow gradient kind of thing, but I've been thinking about actually doing, you know, so that it jumps from one color to the, like from, you know, I've kind of got my reds up here, my blues down here. If I do like one from here, one from here, one from here, one from here, and that would be kind of fun. So those are on the needles. The next thing I have on the needles are the Blooming Lavender. Is that what they're called? They're from the Charming Colorwork Socks book by Charlotte Stone of Stone Knits. And yes, Blooming Lavender. I got it right. Woohoo. So that's them. Oh, I think they're beautiful. And I really liked the speckled blues and purples in the main yarn. So I am doing kind of a rainbowy speckle thing. This is, oh no, this is the Mouse Witch yarn that I was telling you about that has the speckles in it. Oh my gosh, look at those rainbow speckles. Oh, they're so good. And they're showing up so fun in this cuff. I also have these minis. This is from, this actually came with this in the sock set. And then this green one came from a different sock set that was Hagrid's Pumpkin Patch by Freckled Whimsy. That's what good job, brain. pulled that out of the air. So I only have a cuff on this right now. I'm very excited to do the color work. In fact, I stopped after the cuff because once I get into the color work chart, it's very hard for me to pause. I enjoy it so much that I usually just get it done in a day and have to, you know, tell everything else to wait. This is, my niece and sister-in-law gave me this little basket. Isn't it so cute? This is a gobstopper ball of yarn from the Minimal Knitter. This is called, I think Feeling Blue is what it's called. So it's this 4-stripe blue. I got the 4 stripes done in the cuff. I still have yet to decide what I'm going to make, like which pattern I'm going to continue on with this, but I really did want to try her yarn because I was asking for some recommendations for some hardier yarns. I really love softer sock yarns for like hats and mittens and things, but when it comes to socks, sometimes I feel like I'm ruining the socks just by wearing them. And she was sharing with me that her micron count for her yarn is different than what it normally is, and so it's tougher and it feels tougher. I think she's, you know, what do you know, the science that she knows that I don't makes sense when I'm knitting with it. But I'm excited for these to have more vision because I want to, yeah, I like stripy socks and they do seem to knit up pretty quickly. I made myself a pair of Hermione's Everyday Socks in the Opal Van Gogh colorway, but I felt like because Opal is like this self-patterning yarn instead of the self-striping yarn, it got kind of lost in it. So I am like, well, I could do that, but I've done the Hermione's Everyday Sock pattern so many times, and that's great because it works and I remember it and I can still do it. But I'm getting a little bit burnt out on it, and that's okay. Doesn't mean it's a bad pattern. It just means I've done it a lot of times. So I'm thinking of something else that I might be able to do with that. So the last one, I have this itty bitty cast on of this one for this colorway. This is Patton's Croy yarn in the colorway Midnight Orchard. And I think these are just going to be vanilla socks, but I'm excited about what's happening here. Also, let me show you. The beginning of this skein just started out with this manufacturer's knot. What? And then what's that? What is that? What is going on? Anyway, the other skein looks entirely fine. It looks just great, but I was just like, what is happening here? What is going on? Anyway, we'll sort that out. It's fine. And those are just for funsies. I actually didn't have those on my list of things socks that I wanted to make, but there are a few sock yarns that I've wanted to use to just make vanilla socks. I like patterned socks a lot. I've made pattern socks for a lot of my friends and a lot of my family. And usually what I make for myself, the ones that I keep for myself, are just the vanilla socks. But honestly, the sport weight vanilla socks have served me really, really well. And so I am just kind of embracing that for myself for a couple of these yarns here. So one of them is going to be, that have been on my list, is a redo of the first pair of socks that I ever made. The first pair of socks that I made was with this Patton's Croy yarn, and it's called Clover Colors. I really loved it. I really loved working with it. I really loved finishing those socks. They fit my feet. I had a couple of minor things that I changed as I went along the way. The biggest thing that I changed was using my tread heavy pattern recipe for that. I have a tutorial on my channel about it that I just finished, and those socks wore out because I wore them so often, and so I'm remaking them with the tread heavy pattern on them. I actually frogged the socks entirely. I cut out the holy parts that I had tried to repair a couple of times, and then frogged them, and I'm going to be using them in some, you know, scrappy basket or something where the thick and thin nature of the wear that's happened on that yarn won't affect the project very much. But I would like to reuse it in something. But I also want a pair of functional socks that work for me, which is kind of the main deal, right? So I think that's it, friends. Thanks for sticking around with me today, and let me know if you got to the end. You know I love knowing who gets to the end, and I will see you next time. Bye.